For this video, I'm going to talk through how to how to find an equation of a sinusoid if you're given a graph. So I'm going to just be looking at these notes right here, sinusoids, terms, and transformations. So you want to find those. And then I'm just going to go through C, A, D, and B and figure out what those are. So in my notes, the first thing that I come to is what C is. So the value of C, that's called the sinusoidal axis or the middle of the graph. So if I'm looking at what seems to be the middle of the graph, because it's an equal distance to the upper bound and an equal distance to the lower bound, well, that's at 1, 2, 3. So C equals 3. The next letter in my notes is A. A stands for the amplitude, the distance between the sinusoidal axis and the highest point. Sinusoidal axis and the highest point, or the lowest point, or the lower bound. So how many spaces is this right here? It's just 1. The next letter in my notes are D, the horizontal translation, a shift left or right. And on a sinusoid, they call it the phase displacement. So this is also where you choose sine or cosine. So let's make a choice. So I say I'm going to choose cosine. Where does cosine start? It usually starts at the y-axis at the maximum, or the highest point. So how far to the left or to the right did we shift it? We usually generally just naturally go to the right. So my new maximum is located here. So I find that by seeing where it crosses the x-axis. Another acceptable response is negative of that because it's a maximum and it crosses at negative. So for D, if I'm doing cosine, I'm going to use the positive sign. I'm going to use this one right here, 2 pi over 3. So D is 2 pi over 3, and that's if I want to use cosine. What if I want to use sine? Okay. So sine starts in the middle of our graph and goes up if we're looking to the right. So I see this one right here. Sorry, I'm trying to color code these. So sine starts in the middle and goes up, so I could choose this point. This is in the middle, but to the right it goes down. I could choose that point, and I could choose this point. This is in the middle, and to the right it goes up. So why don't I use a negative one, because for the cosine I used a positive one. So that's a way to find a second equation. The last thing my notes say is B. It describes B. And B helps you find the period. So we added a sticky note, and if you don't have that sticky note, you need to get it from a classmate or get it from me the next time we see each other. But it tells me that if I need to find B, I take 2 pi over my period. So I have to know what my period is in this graph. Now the easiest way I see that is if I start at 0. So I'm going to start at this point, and it's at my lowest or my lower bound, and it goes up. So what is one full cycle? Well, it's the time it takes to repeat itself. So here again, I'm at my lowest point, and I'm going up. So these two are the same points, they're just farther away, but they repeat the cycle. So what is my distance here? Well, from 0 to 4 pi over 3, my period is 4 pi over 3. So that's my distance there. And I would have gotten the same answer if I would have found the distance between these 2 points, the two maximums, or between these 2 points, because they correspond. So they also would be 4 pi over 3. So to figure this out, I've got to be good with dividing fractions. So, excuse me, that's an equal sign. It should be 2 pi. And then you flip the denominator and multiply. So if I flip this whole thing, 3 is now on top, 4 pi is on the bottom. So we've got 2 pi times 3 over 4 pi. The pi's definitely cancel out, which is nice. Now I've got 6 over 4, which is equal to 3 over 2. So my b is 3 over 2. And if we need to color code that, I think I've got one more color here. And I'll do some more with the pi. That's my period. This was my period. That helped me find b. Okay. So let's put that all together. So, my equation is, let's do f of x equals c plus a. I'm going to go with cosine, open up parentheses, my b, x, because we're in radians, minus 2 pi over 3. I don't need that 1 there, because 1 times anything is itself, so I could reduce that. I could simplify the equation and just leave it out. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to show you what it looks like with sine. So my c is the same, my a is the same. I'm doing sine. My period is the same. X minus negative pi. So I am going to simplify this because we don't like that. So if I simplify f of x equals 3 plus 1 sine 3/2 x plus 2 minuses make a plus. You can check your answer in your equation. If I put this, excuse me, your calculator, if I put this in my calculator, will it give me this graph? And you have to be pretty good to navigate your window and make sure that this picture is on your graphing calculator. And I'd love to help you with that tomorrow at lunch or another office hour. All right, thanks.